And welcome everyone back to Live with Tim O'Shea. We're live, we're not live, but we are live, and we have an exciting show for you guys today. We have a special guest. Another interview is upon us, and this one is going to be with Jackson Mitchell. Now, if you don't know who that is, you've probably been living under a rock. Jackson Mitchell, one of the best linebackers in UConn football history, third all-time in UConn football for tackles. He was named to the 2023 Chuck Ben-Derrick Award watch list as one of the best linebackers in all of college football last year, an East-West Shrine Bowl participant. He's looking to get his name called on draft day in this upcoming NFL draft. So Jackson Mitchell, an NFL prospect, is going to be joining us on the podcast today. So we're very, very excited for that. But before we get into that, you guys are definitely wondering where I got this pretty cool hat. And that's thanks to our friends at No Rivals. No Rivals is an up-and-coming clothing brand, and listen, these guys are going to pop, so buy all of their merchandise. You can check out their website, shopnorivals.com, or their Instagram, @NoRivalsBrand. They just dropped their Hometown and Espresso collections, so go get yourself some before they sell out. Go get some merchandise of your favorite college teams and other great things they got going on over there at No Rivals. So once again, thank you to our friends over there. We hope we can do some more business in the future, so thank you for partnering with the Live with Tim O'Shea podcast. All right, welcome back to Live with Tim O'Shea. We have a very special guest with us today. Our guest was a unanimous all-state selection out of Richfield High School, a 4-year starting linebacker for the University of Connecticut. He ended his freshman season as a leader among all true freshmen in tackles per game. He finished his career as the third all-time in tackles in UConn football history, a 2022 Dick Butkus Award semifinalist as the nation's best linebacker, 2023 Chuck Ben-Derrick Award watch list as the nation's best defensive player, an East-West Shrine Bowl and Hula Bowl participant, and looking to get his name called in the upcoming NFL draft. Joining us today is none other than former UConn linebacker and NFL prospect Jackson Mitchell. Dude, how about that introduction, huh? That was
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. That was good. That was pretty good.
So Jackson, man, we're gonna jump right into it, dude. Me and you played back in 2019. I was at UConn for a year. You stayed there your whole career, but you were a freshman
Yep.
when I got there. And one of the things that I noticed right when I got there is I was kind of in the back. I was on scout team and stuff. Man, who's this? Who's this number 43, dude? This freshman getting bumped up right into the starting lineup. You were thrown into the
Yeah.
fire right away your freshman year. So take me through that, adjusting to high school football to becoming a starting linebacker at the FBS level right away.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely insane. I remember when we got there in the summer and started our summer workouts, we were kind of by ourselves, like freshmen worked out by themselves. And all of a sudden we show up for camp in August and we were kind of thrown into the fire with the rest of the team. And we were all as freshmen trying to like find our spot and where we were going to be for that year. And it was definitely a big change. In high school, we're used to being the guys, especially playing Connecticut high school football, like you and me, like we're used to being the guys and like kind of dominating every single game, every single play. And you get to the next level and you're not really the strongest, you're not the fastest compared to the rest of the guys. So it takes some getting used to. Luckily for me, like, I felt like I was in a good position where I had an opportunity, to be honest, from a like, as a young guy, where other positions maybe not so. Um, and I kind of tried to work hard and do what I do best is just kind of play football and give a lot of effort, and it landed me on the field kinda halfway through the season. I began on special teams, but after that, I tried to run away with it.
Yeah, and you talk about finding your spot. What were some of those growing pains like? Maybe your freshman, maybe lingering into your sophomore season. I think that might have been the COVID year, but so tell us about some of those growing pains.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that come to mind, Matt Pert, who was on the Giants for a few years, and now he's with the Broncos. Obviously, Christian Haynes, who's about to get drafted. Vandy, who's on the Bills. Like, I was playing against a bunch of NFL offensive linemen as a freshman, and it was definitely tough. You're not used to playing against guys like that, and just getting used to playing the linebacker position versus such talented offensive linemen was really difficult. And obviously, they're huge, they're strong. And I felt like I was kind of dominated at times during practice, but those practices are what got me better and got me prepared for the game to kind of have success later on in the season.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Because the program at that time was looked almost pretty much down upon, and that
Yeah,
whole offensive line, 3 out of the 5 guys are NFL dudes. It's just crazy
yeah,
how much talent that team had.
yeah. I always look back to that one team, especially because we did have so much talent, but obviously we couldn't really put it together. But you look at the team, there was a lot of NFL guys on that team.
Mhm.
Obviously Travis was on that team. You guys like Ian Swenson, who also had
Yeah.
opportunities. Omar, like we had a bunch of guys on the team that really got an opportunity at the next level. So
Tyler
it's
Coyle.
tough.
I remember Tyler Coyle.
Yeah.
That dude could
Yep.
fly in the backfield.
He's with the Packers practice squad now, actually. So
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I remember he was so fast. And I remember the one
yeah,
guy that outran him, I'll never forget this, was Gabe Davis, UCF. I'll never
yeah,
forget that. I was like,
yeah.
oh
I
my.
remember that UCF game. I think that was the first game before I started playing linebacker. I remember standing on the sideline, like honestly wishing I didn't have to go in. They're kind of blowing a little bit.
And dude, you went through a lot your whole college career. You had such a unique college experience. Just the years that you played. Um, that sophomore season was COVID, and people kind of forget that UConn was literally the first school to cancel their entire season, like literally
Yeah.
the first one. So how did you use that year to get better? Because you're coming off a really successful freshman year. You're thinking you're going to take that next step your sophomore season, and then it just kind of gets taken away from you. So how did you utilize that year to get better?
Yeah, it was tough. I remember we got sent home from spring break, and we thought we had a long spring break, and it was amazing. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, we didn't really get back to school till July. But while I was home, I really just tried to, stay focused like I was at school and stay grinding and working out. I knew I had to get bigger and faster for this next upcoming season, and so that's kind of what I did. I put on a lot of weight, got a lot stronger. And then when our season eventually got canceled, it was a tough blow. It was like our first fall not playing football since we were little kids. So trying to figure out a way to stay focused in this craziness of COVID, because there were teams that played and honestly only played like 5 games because they had games canceled, things like that. But it was tough, trying to keep the team focused because we obviously weren't playing for much. But I tried to just focus on me and trying to get better as a player, and obviously it helped going into the following season for sure.
Yeah, you remember those Zoom or not the interviews, but like Zoom like meetings where they were like, "Are we coming back?" And they're like, "We have no idea."
Yeah, we would have team meetings on Zoom. Even when we got back to school, like we would go in the facility, get breakfast to go, and then go home and do our like position meetings, our film meetings on the computer, and then we'd walk out to practice. And it's just that's something I never experienced. I hope no one ever has to experience it again because it
That
was
was
just insane.
terrible, dude. That was terrible. And then your following season, you were recruited by Coach Randy Etzel, and
Yeah.
his staff. And then midway through the season, he quits. And what I've never heard the real story behind it. Like what? Because I remember it was he was going to retire at the end of the year. And then something happened internally, and then he just kind of called it quits. So I don't know if you can give us a little insight about what happened, if you had any word in that, or what was going on there.
Yeah, I think so obviously we had the whole year off. We came back and we just got whooped up on by Fresno in our first game.
Hmm.
And kind of people chalked it up to like kind of we haven't played in 2 years, like first game jitters. Like Fresno actually ended up being a really good team that year, so they kind of just chalked it up to that. But then our second game, we played FCS Holy Cross. It was a good team, but obviously they shouldn't be beating an FBS team, and we lost at home, and that's kind of was like the last straw for that. So I remember we came in and Coach Etzel told us he was gonna like retire at the end of the season, and this is gonna be his last season. And I think a lot of the coaches and some of the players too were really like unhappy with that because they felt like he's trying to just like mailing it in, and that wasn't right. Like I don't know, people were very unhappy with that kind of decision, the way he went about it, because he didn't tell the coaches. Obviously, coaches know like when a coach leaves, their job's pretty much
Yeah.
gone. Like they have to go find another job. So they're unhappy that he didn't really like make it known to them. And so like kind of word got to the AD somehow, and they end up just making the decision, let's just move on now so we can begin the hiring process. And that's kind of what they did towards the back half of the season. That's when Coach Moore kind of stepped in. He wasn't coaching us at the time, but he was able to be around the team and just get some eyes on the players he had and wanted to bring back. So it was definitely a weird year. Like those first 3 years are something that I don't think anyone will experience in college football, but it was cool. It
Yeah,
was
no,
fun.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, your first 3 years were insane, dude. Like, and
Yeah.
how was like I guess like I've never been in that position where a coach resigns or mid-year. What's the feeling in the locker room? Do people just kind of give up on the season? Like, kind of what's the vibe there? Because I know how like fluid a locker room can be.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we definitely played some close games after that. We tried to keep fighting. our interim was Coach Spanos, who a bunch of the guys actually like. So we tried to
Yeah.
keep fighting. But it gets to a point where obviously we weren't winning. I think we won one game that year. So like it's tough when you're not winning games to keep everybody bought in and keep grinding, keep focused. So there were times where it was down and we were getting blown out and guys kind of just mailed it in. But we did play some close games. I remember we played Vanderbilt, who was also struggling that year, and we lost on a game-winning field goal, but the guys fought really hard and wanted to win that game. So I think, yeah, it was tough, but guys tried to do their best to stay as focused as they could.
Yeah, and you went from 1-11 that season to now we have Jim Mora stepping in. And Coach Mora absolutely changed the trajectory and culture of UConn football, especially that season going from 1-11 to 6-7. What was that change? And you have seen it from the beginning. You were there, you were one of the older guys at that point. What was that
Yep.
catalyst that put you guys over the top to get to a bowl game?
I think he just showed up and he established like a really good culture before anything like football wise or anything like that. He established like a great culture and from the jump he told us like what we were going to be and how our football team was going to be and we're just going to work hard and grind it out and that's who we have to be as UConn. Like when we play other teams, we're going to have to be a team that just grinds it out and kind of wants it more. And he established that winning culture that I think we were missing. And I think guys got so used to like struggling and going through losses that it kind of took like toll on them a little bit. And Coach Morrow gave us some new life and new hope. And every game we played, we felt like we could win. Obviously, we had some tough games that year. We played Michigan. We played a Syracuse team who was also really good. But we had huge wins with like Fresno and Boston College, and so to make that first bowl game since 2015 was exciting for the team, and that was something I was really proud of.
Yeah, and being, a hometown kid growing up like myself, UConn football fans, bringing back that winning culture to the program. What did that mean to you?
Yeah, it meant a lot. I mean, I remember when we beat Liberty to become bowl eligible, like so many fans had like messaged me on social media, just like thanking me and thanking the team for like kind of like not giving up and to continue to fight because like the football team, believe it or not, like some people obviously basketball is huge, it's the number
Yeah.
one thing in the state, but the football team does matter to a lot of fans, and when we kind of were bringing it back a little bit, I think a lot of fans were happy to see that because it was at a very high point at one point, back in the day, so I think they were happy to see that.
Yeah, and one thing that I appreciate as a guy looking in from the outside, and I think you can appreciate this too. It seems like Coach Mora is recruiting more hometown guys, more homegrown talent in Connecticut. You yourself are homegrown talent here. You're from Ridgefield. Victor Rosa, another guy from Bristol. I really like that, and I think keeping the talent here in Connecticut is really important as well.
Yeah, I think, that was something people were unhappy with Coach Edsel, like, he didn't do too much recruiting in Connecticut. I know so many guys that would have loved to go to UConn just because they were from Connecticut and end up going to FCS and doing really, really well, and they definitely could have helped at a school like UConn. But we have a lot of talent here, like, it may not be as, like, populated as a place like Florida where, like, you can go every corner, there's a good football player, but, like, our really good players are really good. There's a guy Cornelius Johnson, who's went to Brunswick. He's from Greenwich. He's going to get drafted this year. He was a receiver at Michigan.
Yeah.
We got a few guys in the league from Connecticut, and like you said, at UConn, our two starting running backs, Cam Edwards and Vic, are both from Connecticut. And there's a bunch of other Connecticut guys. So definitely, there's definitely good talent here, and I'm glad he's kind of picking the good ones and bringing them to Connecticut.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to ask you this as we move off of the, college, who was the best player that you played against in college? And they could,
Um,
and honestly, they can still be in college too. Maybe they're a guy that's a sophomore or whatever, but I want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I played against a few good players. Gabe Davis, obviously, like he plays receiver, so it's not like I was one on one with him, but he had a great game versus us, and he did it in like one half. I think another guy just we played Michigan. Blake Corum was really good. He had 5 touchdowns versus us. He's a really talented running back. And he's quick, like he's smaller, but his footwork and his just like running style is very unique, and he's really talented. So I'd probably say those two guys.
Yeah, and that was the switch from being in the American Conference to independent. How'd you like
Independent.
that? How'd you like that switch? You're playing bigger schools, definitely playing independent, not in conference teams. But I want to hear what your opinion is on that switch.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to it. Obviously, independent, you can play any school pretty much. So we were playing those big Power Five schools, like we were a Power Five team. We played some really talented teams. We also got to travel out to places like Utah and Fresno, and so we traveled all over the country, which was cool. The downside I would say is like you don't really get a chance being at a place like UConn too. Like this is a great school to compete for a conference championship. Like that's
Mhm.
something you can look forward to because national championships are so hard to come by for
Yeah.
great Power Five teams. So for us to be in that talk is hard, but you can definitely compete for conference championships. So that's something I would have loved to be able to compete for because I think that's an awesome thing. So that's like the one downside I would say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But you get to play at some huge, cool stadiums. I bet you have a lot of memories from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. This year, Michigan was obviously the biggest, it's like 109,000, but I think Tennessee was the coolest just because it was huge. It was, I don't know, 95,000 maybe, but they were so loud and like on third down they get so loud and singing they were singing Rocky Top and stuff. I think that was a really cool environment to play in. That it felt like real college football. Like when you watch every Saturday, that's kind of what you look at for college football.
You also went down to Death Valley, played Clemson, and you guys
Yeah.
were winning. You're winning.
Yeah, that was the most electric opening kickoff ever. He dropped it and then he returned it for a touchdown. That was a great moment because that was towards the end of that season when we were struggling, but that was like a really high point because it was awesome. The stadium was so loud and then just went silent. That was really fun.
That's gotta be dope. And now I kind of want to move into now. You had a successful college career. You left your mark at
Mhm.
UConn, one of the best defensive players, that's played there. Now you're looking forward to the NFL. What has this process been like so far? I know you went to the Hula Bowl and you went to the East West Shrine Bowl. So tell me about those
Yep.
bowl experiences.
It was cool. So I knew I was going to Hula Bowl like after our season. I had been invited and I accepted it. And it was cool. It was a great chance to get in front of scouts. There was, scouts from every team there. A great opportunity to play against some good guys. And I was fortunate enough to perform well enough in practice that week to get the invite to the East West game. And so at both games, I got a chance to sit down with pretty much all 32 teams and talk to scouts from those teams, which was a great opportunity, something that you always dream of. And then, at East West, it's better competition, better players, and a great week of practice. And the one thing about East West, the coaches that week are coaches for NFL teams, which is a cool experience to see kind of how they coach and how NFL coaches go about their business.
Yeah, and what were some of those, talking with coaches and stuff like that? Were they making you drop like X's and O's, going through some plays from your college days?
Yeah, everyone's different. Like some people just try to get background information on you and kind of do a little research on you. If you have any trouble in your background, which unfortunately I don't, but they'll definitely do the research on that and ask you questions about it. But they also, they'll bring up film from your season and ask you to talk about plays. It's important to kind of understand your playbook from the school you went to. They don't ask you any other type of plays or plays from the NFL, but they'll bring up film from your school and ask you to draw things up and talk about it for sure.
Yeah, and how was your pro day?
It was cool. I was telling you before we kind of started recording, there was 31 teams there. Obviously, we had guys like Christian and Eric there, which also helped to bring a lot of guys. So we definitely had a great showing, a lot of scouts, and it's just another opportunity to kind of show what you got on the field and one last time to play at UConn, which was exciting. But I felt like it went well, and now done with that. And I'm not a big testing guy, so to be done with that part of the process is nice, and kind of now just meeting with a few more teams and kind of waiting till the end of April.
Yeah, you're a football guy, dude. That's what I always say. I'm not putting big up numbers in the weight room, but we're just gonna ball on the
Yeah,
field.
yeah, definitely. I always tell people that. I tell that to scouts too. Like, I know how to play football. I don't run track. I don't do anything like that. Which, sadly, like that's kind of important to a lot of people now. But I feel like whether it's undrafted or drafted, I get an opportunity to kind of put on the helmet and play and practice. I feel like I can prove my worth for sure.
Are you applying to jobs and need to update your portfolio with a headshot or a portrait? Or are you an athlete that's trying to find a way to showcase their best plays through a highlight or a mixtape? Well, I got the answer for you, and that is Mawin Bell Production. He's a photographer and a videographer, and for photography, he does headshots, portraits, sporting events, and weddings. For videos, he does documentary-style mixtapes and lifestyle vids. He actually just did my headshots, which I'll be posting on my LinkedIn and other business portfolios. Malwin Bell Productions. This guy is super talented and he has a great portfolio. Go check him out on Instagram at Malwin Bell Productions. And if you DM him the code Malwin Bell, you'll get 15% off your next booking. So check him out, Malwin Bell Productions. Thank you, my man, for sponsoring this video. Yeah, dude, I think there's definitely a difference between, testing speed and then there's game speed. And, I was watching something on the NFL posted. It was like, I think it was like, I don't know if it was Justin Jefferson, but it was like the best wide receivers 40 times in the last like 10 years. And a lot of the good guys that we know of ran like 4.5s, 4.6s.
Four,
The
fives,
blazing,
yeah.
yeah, the blazing speed guys like really kind of fan out.
Yeah, it's because it's so hard. Like Tyreek Hill is such an exception. It's so hard to be able to be that fast and play that fast and be able to change direction going that speed. There's not many people that can do it. Tyreek Hill obviously is one of those guys, but so the guys, those best receivers that they talk about, like they're able to play fast and be so controlled in their routes and get open regardless of their speed. So for sure.
Are you talking to any like have some certain teams in particular been interested that you've talked to like a number of times that these certain teams you're thinking maybe I might go here?
Uh Not really. I mean, I talked to most teams twice because I went to the Louisville and East West game.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be because we're at UConn. I'm gonna go to the Patriots local day, which is
gotcha. Yeah.
next week, which will be cool. So definitely get a chance to talk to them and then kind of see where it goes. Pro days finish up, I think, this week. So I think teams get a little more involved with like the later round guys after pro days are over and that type of thing. So hopefully more teams reach out and I have a better idea after that.
And I know you've probably been keeping up with the news this week, but the NFL just passed a bunch of crazy rules.
Yeah.
I have my own opinions on it, but I definitely want to hear yours. These rules really have changed the game, to be honest, like
Yeah.
not just any little things. And since basically I would say about probably 2009 to 2010, they've been changing the rules that really,
Yeah.
hurt defenders, not literally, but hurts, playing wise,
Yeah.
and you guys get penalized. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. The NFL just banned the hip drop tackle, which I
Yeah.
personally didn't even know that was like a thing. I just kind of assumed it was just a tackle.
Yeah.
What are your opinions on that as like a defensive player? Like, how does that change your mentality, change your game?
Yeah, I think first off, like just the penalty for it, which is like I think a first down 15 yards. That's probably too like aggressive just because no football player like goes into the play thinking that they're gonna hip drop a person. It kind of just happens, especially if you get out of position or a guy's running away from you, it's hard. All you're taught is like you want to get them down as fast as possible and you don't want them to get past the first down. Like our job is to make sure they don't get a first down or score. So it's kinda like if they're in that position and they're getting close to the first down of their end zone, like, you just gotta figure out a way to get them down, and I think it was Richard Sherman talking about it, like, especially for DBs, like, when you're playing against a tight end that's, 6'5", 260 or running back that's like Derrick Henry, whose lower half is so strong and they're also, like, 245 pounds, it's hard to bring a guy like that down regardless, so, like, dropping their weight is kinda the only way it happens. So it's unfortunate, I think. I think there's gonna be a lot of unhappy players, a lot of unhappy fans. I was seeing something like it's gonna be fine until it happens in a huge moment, and then
Yes.
fans are
Yeah.
gonna be so upset and like it's gonna cost their team the game, or play it's gonna cost a player the game. Guys are gonna get fined for it when it's kind of just a natural thing that happens. So I don't think it's gonna be permanent. I think it's gonna be something that will have to get worked through just because it's such a like a part of the game. I understand why they did it because you can definitely get hurt doing it. Like the videos they showed, Mark Andrews and some other guys can definitely get hurt doing it, but it's like no, it's not the guy's intention to hurt anyone, I don't think.
Yeah, and like I feel like the hip drop tackle is different from like hitting a defensive player. Like
Yeah,
when
definitely.
yeah, when they have like a receiver coming across the middle, that safety's like, I'm gonna knock this out. That linebacker's like, I'm gonna knock this guy out of the game. That's like a real
Yeah.
thing, a real thought process.
Yes,
My
definitely.
my point of view is like, I just don't see the hip drop tackle. Like no one goes and's like, I'm gonna hip drop tackle this guy. I feel like that's just a
No.
natural thing. And in the NFL, you guys are so athletic. It's just
Yeah.
like the way you guys, the momentum just takes you in certain ways. So that's
Yeah,
kind of where my problem is. It's like that's just not like a thing people go in thinking they're gonna do. It's just a way the game kind of happens. It's
yeah.
unfortunate, but with football, we all take risks playing the game. It is what it is, and that's why it's so like popular. People like seeing the risks.
Yeah, definitely. I think also like NFL is such a money business, and the last thing they want is the offensive guys are kind of the guys that make the most money and bring the fans. Like all the little kids, they love watching the Justin Jeffersons, the Tyreek Hills, the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allen's. Like, so they're trying to protect like their money makers, and I see why they're doing it. Obviously, from a business perspective, it's just unfortunate and puts the defensive players in a tough position.
Well, soon the kids are gonna want to be the Jackson Mitchells.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Another thing that they changed, which I think is huge as well, is they changed the kickoff rules. Now, for a
Yeah,
guy that's gonna, play defense in the league, and a lot of people don't realize that like 80% of the NFL are guys that are just kind of special teams
special
guys.
team. Yeah,
That's a huge thing. So how are you, because you're most likely going to be on, a kickoff team.
yeah,
So how are
definitely.
you preparing yourself for this new rule? Because this is something that even NFL coaches haven't really ever coached before. Players
Yeah.
haven't done this before. So everyone's learning at the same time. How are you preparing yourself for something like that?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think once I get to rookie minicamp, which is I think beginning of May, whatever team I'm at, definitely gonna be something that they're gonna enforce, like coach right away because it is so new. Like even the veteran players are gonna have to learn this type of thing. So something I'm definitely gonna have to pay attention to and really kind of work on because it is completely different from you're used to running down like 40 yards and getting a full head of steam, and sometimes you can avoid depending where you are. Sometimes you can run through a guy. Now it's kind of more like pretty much just gonna have to get your hands on and shed off blocks like it's more of like a regular play.
Mhm.
They're trying to get more returns, I guess. I think there's like it goes to 35 if you allow it to be a touchback, so
Yep.
teams aren't gonna want to kick it into the end zone anymore, so they want more returns. But we'll see. I think it will be different. I think from a kickoff return perspective, it also I kind of like it because anyone that's been on kickoff return, that's a tough job when you're on the front line. You gotta run backwards and then turn around. You got a guy right in your face, so
Hell
it does
yeah.
make it a little bit easier for the blockers. But as a kickoff person, it is different and less advantage.
Dude, I remember when I was at UConn, I was on the kick return team, and taking those
Yeah.
reps was awful, dude.
Yes, it
I,
sucks.
I got
It's horrible.
like you said, I got Ian Swenson coming full speed. The guy runs a 4.4, and I'm just standing there like,
Yeah.
all right, here we go. Just gotta take it, dude. But
Yeah.
but yeah, man, I think I kind of like that rule though. Personally, I kind of like it. The XFL experimented with it, and I think
Yeah.
it brings kick returning back into the game. I think that was kind of
Yeah.
something that was lost. I remember Devin Hester
Definitely.
used to be the guy. Cordell Patterson was a guy that kind of took the reins on that. But since then,
Yeah.
it's been a lot of touchbacks, especially since kickers have gotten so good. So
Yeah,
I
they just kick it in the end zone, so I think they're trying to prohibit that a little bit.
Yeah, so I kind of do like how they added that. Now you can see probably some really good kick returners now, some guys making them names for themselves.
Yeah. Do you think it'll help kick returners? I think it'll open up a lot more lanes because you can't really overlap as much as you could in
Mhm.
regular kickoff. So it's going to open up a little more lanes and more guys chasing down guys rather than kind of being in front of them, which it'll be cool to see, definitely.
100%. And last question on this, are you holding a draft party?
No, not. I'm gonna do something small with my family. My girlfriend's gonna come up. She's lives in Tampa, so she's gonna come up here and probably have some family, maybe some friends that are local, anything like that. But nothing too big, nothing crazy like you see on TV.
All right,
But
I accept the invite, by the way. All right.
yeah, for sure you're invited. But it'll be exciting. It's something you always dream of. So kind of get to share it with my family will be cool.
100%, dude. That's a tremendous thing, and it's awesome to see you. You came in as a freshman. We came in together in McMahon.
Yeah,
We were living in McMahon dorms, dude. Like that back in the day. Just seeing you now, dude. It's pretty awesome to see the development, and
yeah. It's
congratulations to you,
been a
brother.
long time for sure from McMahon. Those dorms were horrible.
Terrible. um, One thing I do want to ask you, I was kind of doing some research before this, and on your NIL initiatives and stuff, and one of your interests was sports memorabilia, sports cards. I kind of wanted to see it. Like, do you collect? Are you a sports memorabilia card guy?
When I was a kid, I used to be like I had so many. I think I gave them away. I'm sure there was some in there that was actually like worth something, but I was too young to know. I gave them away, but it's like something I do find interested in. I would like to kind of get back into because I mean, it's huge now. I see it all over social media, like people like selling cards and things like that. So it'll be something cool to get into for sure, but I don't have any right now.
Well, now you can get the jersey swaps, dude, in the NFL. Those are worth
Yeah,
those are
for
worth a
sure.
couple thousand each, dude. So just keep
For
piling
sure.
those up.
Especially if you get a little signature or something, that'll be nice.
100%. I gotta tell Vandy he owes me a jersey. And you owe me a
Yeah.
jersey now too. I gotta get
All right.
one.
I got you.
All right, now I know you're an avid Giants fan. So
Yeah,
I
well,
know, I know, I gotta ask. I'm sorry, but Saquon Barkley, man, and this might be a teammate of yours. This might, so be careful
yeah.
what you say. But like, what's your initial thoughts on Saquon, man, leaving the Giants?
Yeah, I mean, that was tough for them just because he was pretty much their team. Like he's done so much for them. So for them, I think he said that they didn't even like offer him a contract, which is kind of crazy by them. But it's tough. I think, looking at it from a player perspective, he's doing what's best for him and his career and money wise, things like that. So can't really blame a guy. But from a fan perspective, anyone that's a Giants fan, like obviously they're going to be upset, especially going to a team like that, like them or the Cowboys or the Redskins or Commanders. My bad. But like those guys are, those guys are
Um,
like they don't
yeah,
want
no,
to
dude.
see.
I like some of the additions they made on defense though. They got Brian Burns.
Yeah,
That's a linebacker.
yeah.
So how do you like that defensive outlook on them this year?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be good. They have, Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side and Dexter Lawrence in the middle. So that defensive front will be great. And they also had some linebackers like Bobby Okereke and I think Micah McFadden. They like
Hmm.
those guys like played really well at linebacker for them. So that front seven should be kind of strong for them. And, their defense has always been kind of what keeps them in games and their strong suit over the past couple of years. So, I think it'll be good for them.
And listen, man, I kind of put something together for you. I got a little game, all right? We're gonna
All
play
right.
cut, start, and bench. And I got a bunch of
All
Giants
right.
players here, and I want you to cut one, start one, and bench one. All right, here we go.
All
This is
right.
I
All
put
right.
this together. I put this and I was like, oh, this is gonna be the hardest list ever. So these are gonna be tough.
Okay.
All right, so up first, cut, start, bench. Victor Cruz, OBJ, or Hakeem Nicks.
Yeah. Uh, I'll probably. I mean, OBJ's career was kind of short with the Giants, but I'm gonna start him just because I feel like he was so good when he was there. So I'll probably start OBJ, and hmm,
I
I'm
told you,
gonna
man.
what is it? I'm gonna bench. I feel like I'm gonna bench Hakeem Nicks because he won Super Bowls, and then I guess I gotta cut Victor Cruz, but he's like a Giants legend. His sausage dance was like, and he went to UMass, which is crazy.
Yeah, dude, local guy. Yeah, UMass.
Yeah.
All right, second one. Cut start bench. Tiki Barber, Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw.
I'm starting Brandon Jacobs. Like I grew up on Brandon Jacobs. Like he was huge and he was dope. So I'm gonna start him. I'm gonna bench. I don't even remember Tiki Barber, so I'm gonna bench Ahmad Bradshaw and cut Tiki Barber.
I kind of like that. I think that was the way to go. Ahmad Bradshaw was a name, dude. I pulled that up. I
Yeah,
was like, I gotta throw that one in there.
yeah.
All right. Cut start bench. JPP, Justin Tuck, OCU Manura.
Okay.
Dude,
You're
that's the
bringing
hard
up
one.
these Giants legends. I'm starting Justin Tuck. He's another guy. Like my fandom for the Giants when I was young was like huge. Like Justin Tuck was someone I loved watching. So I'm gonna go with start Justin Tuck. Um, eh, like I feel like you can't cut those other one of those other two guys, but I'm gonna bench uh Jason Pierre-Paul and cut OCU Manura.
Damn, you're cutting OC?
I guess. I mean, I have to. I'm lucky you didn't say Michael Strahan. I would have
Oh,
to an even better player.
give me a second. JPP, people forget how good JPP was on the Giants, too, because he kind of has
Yeah.
been a journeyman now late in his career, but he was a
Yeah,
dog.
but when he was a Giants, he was insane. Yeah.
All right, last one for you. This is the hardest one. Cut, start, bench. Eli, Strahan, or LT?
I knew you were gonna say him. I mean, I gotta start Lawrence Taylor. I think he's like one of the greatest defensive players like ever. He like changed the offensive line position because for to protect against a guy like that. So I'm gonna go with uh start Lawrence Taylor, bench my the thing about Eli is like he has two Super Bowls and he's like the Giants fans love him, but I'm gonna bench Michael Strahan and cut Eli,
Damn.
which
Cut it.
hurts.
Cutting Eli, dude. You're gonna get hate for that.
I know it hurts because every Giants fans loves him, but I don't know.
He brought you two
I'm
Super
a
Bowls,
defensive guy.
dude. He was your
He did.
childhood.
He did. He did. But he had some bad years too.
That is true. That is true. Well, hey man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man, for this interview. I hope you had a little bit of fun.
Yeah,
Hopefully we could do
definitely.
this again sometime. But yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on live with Tim O'Shea.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great show.